everyone and welcome to today's video, which is my 2023 reading statistics. Now, I read 80 books in the year of 2023, which is the most books that I've ever read in a year. I swear, like, every year I end up reading more books than the last year. So because there's so many books this year, I'm interested to see all the statistics. Now, I'm not too sure how accurate all of this is because it is just done on Goodreads and Storygraph, so I'm putting my faith in these websites. Hopefully they've gotten the numbers right because that's what I'll be going off. And in 2023, my Goodreads goal was to read 55 books and I surpassed that with my 80 books. And here is a little overview of the books that I read. But overall, I read 27,309 pages in my 80 books. And my shortest book was the Taylor Swift Little Golden Book biography, which was 24 pages. And my longest book was Crave by Tracy Wolfe, which was 592 pages. And my average book length this year was 341 pages, which makes a lot of sense because I don't like to read big books. I like a medium-sized book, what can I say? And the most popular book that I read this year was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which 5,702,312 people also shelved. But I don't know if that's like all-time shelving or if that's just this year, because that'd be crazy if that many people read it this year. And my average rating this year was 3.6 stars, which I do feel like reflects the year. I didn't have an amazing reading year. Obviously I found some new favourites, which I absolutely love. I will make a video about that soon, about all my 5-star reads of the year. But I feel like 3.6, it's like, it's not too high, not too low. I feel like that literally reflects the majority of books that I read. But now moving on to Storygraph, where we get some more interesting statistics. It's not loading. Has it crashed? We're having some technical difficulties. Storygraph is not loading. We've just got a blank screen. Has it crashed? I don't understand. Okay, it's been like 3 or 4 hours now, so the camera angle may look a little different, but Storygraph is finally up. Like, I don't know what was happening, why they decided to do maintenance on the day that I wanted to film this video, but it's back. So now we can finally go through our statistics. Now we'll talk about like the differences of statistics in Goodreads and Storygraph, because on Goodreads it says I read 27,309 pages, but on Storygraph I read 27,256 pages. And I feel like I always more accurately put in my books on Storygraph because I select which format I read or which publisher I read, because like the covers can differ and I never can be bothered to do that on Goodreads. I don't know why, but as for the moods of the books that I read this year, it's not super different from last year because I feel like emotional, lighthearted, and adventurous were like in my top 3 last year as well. But then we have funny and mysterious in the top 5, which I feel like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. And then the pacing, which I think is so interesting because I always like strive to read fast-paced books because I obviously don't want to feel like a book is taking forever. And I did read some slow books this year, which were actually 3 books. And those books were We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, By a Thread by Lucy Score, and If We Ever Meet Again by Anna Huang. And I guess I would agree, like these books are really kind of slow, especially By a Thread. It took me forever to get through that book. It felt like it was dragging on, and obviously Lucy Score does generally write like big books. This one was 584 pages. For a romance book, I was like, what is going on? Like, why does it have to be this long? It was dragging on, so it definitely makes sense that this is in the slow books category because I thought it was really slow. I did read 51 books that were medium paced and 25 books that were fast paced. So some of these books in the fast paced category include Lockwood & Co., The Selection, Die For You, Spy Family, which again makes sense because it is a manga, so like graphic novels, quick to read, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and a few like mystery books as well. And then as for page numbers, unsurprisingly, majority of the books that I read were in the 300 to 499 category, which does reflect the average book length that was shown in Goodreads. So I did read 53 books that were 300 to 499 pages, and then I read 22 books that were under 300 pages, which again makes sense because I did read like 8 or 9 volumes of Spy Family. And then as for books that are over 500 pages, there was only 5 because again, I get scared of big books. So these 5 books were The Poppy War, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Crave, Fourth Wing, and By a Thread. So not very many, but majority of those other than by a thread, I actually enjoyed. So maybe I shouldn't constantly stay away from long books, because I did like all the rest of them and rated them all above 4 stars. Next, I have my statistics on fiction versus non-fiction books, and I read one non-fiction book, and that book was the Taylor Swift Little Golden book, so I don't even know if that really counts. That's my extent of non-fiction reading. Thank you very much. For the longest time, I was convinced it was going to be 100% fiction, but then I got that Little Golden book for Christmas, and then I read it on Christmas. That was literally it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a non-fiction. And again, I don't really think that counts, because it is like a kid's picture book. But as for genres, my top 5 genres this year were romance, contemporary, fantasy, young adult, and LGBTQIA. So I read 33 romance books, 29 contemporary books, 25 fantasy books, 22 young adult books, and 12 LGBTQIA+ books. And then the genres that I read the least from were biography, which again, that one, which was the Taylor Swift one, horror, which was actually The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I feel like I wouldn't classify as horror, because I feel like horror has to be super scary, and that wasn't super scary, but horror, Picture of Dorian Gray. Music, again, the Taylor Swift Little Golden book. Philosophy, which was The Outsider, and then a play, what play did I read this year? Oh, I read The Crucible. So those are my bottom 5. So these are all the genres I read from, which again will go from top to bottom: romance, contemporary, fantasy, young adult, LGBT, mystery, historical, manga, middle grade, thriller, literary, classics, dystopian, children's, short stories, speculative fiction, magical realism, sports, which was a sports romance. Not like I wasn't reading a sports book. Sports romance. So I don't know why they like picked it up as sports. Anywho. Then play, philosophy, music, horror, and biography. So I feel like there's a range of genres this year, and I'm happy with that. I branched out a bit, I enjoyed that. But then as for formats, I did read majority print books, which was 59 books, and then I read 10 digital books, which were either on my Kindle or on my phone for Libby, and then 11 audiobooks. And then here is a little statistic of most read authors, and my top author this year was Tatsuya Endo, who wrote Spy Family. So I did read 8 volumes, looks like then. And then Anne Huang, which was 4 books, because I read 2 books in the Kings of Sin series and 2 books in the If Love series. And then I read 3 books by Jonathan Stroud, which were the first 3 books in the Lockwood & Co series. I read 2 books by Ali Hazelwood, which one was a short story and the other one was Love Theoretically, which I absolutely loved. And then I read 2 books by Nina Kenwood, which were Unnecessary Drama and It Sounded Better in My Head. 2 books by Nina Varela, which were Cries, War, and Iron Heart. Angie Thomas, Johnny L. Clayton, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nick Stone, who wrote like a short story collection, anthologies, that's what they're called, together. Like, so there was a few different authors. I believe there's one more also. They wrote Blackout and Whiteout, so I did read both of those, so 2 each from all those authors, because it was the one book, so they all popped up in my most read authors. But as for the number of books I read per month, my best reading month was August with 10 books, and my worst reading month was October with 4 books. And that definitely reflects my life at the time, because October is around deadlines and stuff for uni. So I didn't really have a lot of time to read in that month. And because Goodreads doesn't let you do like half, quarter, or 3/4 star ratings, my average rating on there was 3.6 stars, but on Storygraph, because it does let you do those different ratings, like in between ones, my average rating was 3.72 stars. So there's only like a slight difference there. But I gave 13 books 5 stars in 2023, and then I ended up giving 19 books 4 stars. My next highest rating was 3 stars, which had 14 books in it, which I find so interesting. But I will actually do a video soon on all my highest rated books of 2023, which I will include obviously all my 5-star reads, and then my 4.75, 4.5, 4.25, and then a few from the 4s, because I feel like I did have some like absolute favorites that were in 4 stars as well, so I feel like they deserve to be shown. But those are all my statistics for the year of 2023. I would love to know some of your statistics as well, like what was your most read genre, who was your most read author, anything like that. I would love to know your answers, so don't forget to tell me in the comments. But if you enjoyed this video, video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below so you don't miss new videos from me. I do post every Saturday, but I have been posting a lot more frequently recently, so you do not want to miss any new videos. Also recommend hitting the notification bell so you don't miss when I do upload. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks again for watching and goodbye!